What is up, my ninja? Shinobi here with another Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls video for you guys. And in the background, I have some gameplay footage of me doing the greater rifts at the end of Season 1, really trying to push those ranks. I did make it to rank 1 for a while and lost some of that spot, and I made it to rank 22, and I ended up at rank 26 at the end of the season for Wizard, which I felt, pretty good about. I was definitely no complaints. I mean, Season 1 had a lot of problems, and Season 1 had some good stuff, but mainly bad stuff. And this video here, I want to kind of talk about, now that Season 1 is over and done with, kind of a recap on everything that went down and my thoughts about everything, and then also the thoughts on the future, on what it is that, with Season 2 coming up on February 13th, what do I want to accomplish out of that? What do I want to do? What are kind of my goals? And so at the beginning of the season, we had our first problem, besides PTR being a long time. The first problem was the miners bounty, and I believe miners gold, I think it's called. So if you guys did watch Twitch TV, you saw that there was a lot of streamers that were literally playing on like you had to level up right in the beginning from Season 1. You start at level 1, players would go T6, they would run in, just run to the area, don't have to kill a single monster, kind of like some of the leveling things that I showed you guys in the past, which ended up getting fixed, but this was slightly different, and you pretty much play on T6 and level up really quickly, and people were using this to level really fast. Now the reason why this was a problem was because this type of thing shouldn't have been in the game. The fact that players were doing it is not really the problem to begin with. It just should have been seen beforehand, because at the beginning of the season, it's all about the race. It's all about getting up there and being the first 1,000 people to hit level 70, or the first some odd people to do certain conquests that are there. And once those are gotten, then you can't get them anymore. And so that was kind of the situation with that, and a lot of people really were upset about that. They wanted it to be okay. Everyone, you don't have to like literally just do one thing. Like when you feel like you're forced into doing one thing that you don't really want to do, it kind of takes away the fun out of actually doing everything. So if you're like, okay, I'll just go do a bunch of bounties, we'll maybe do Act 1 over and over, or maybe Act 4, or maybe we'll go do rifts or something, or whatever, kind of mix it up and level at a good rate. Whereas other people were literally leveling way faster by doing something cheesy where they don't have to kill a single monster. So that was kind of the problem with the situation, and it kind of started off Season 1 in a pretty crappy way. So a little bit later on, we kept progressing through the season, and we were doing, people were starting to get really high up there in the greater rift levels, and as people were getting really high up there, this post got put on the Diablo 3 official forums, and on there it was a really high ranked player. I don't remember if it was a demon hunter or who it was, but he was a really high ranked player, and he explained that him and a lot of the other people in the top 10, top 20 were using this program called Turbo HUD. Now, if you guys don't know what that is, it is pretty much a program that allows you to see the map, and it kind of like an interface that only you can see. So if you were streaming, you wouldn't actually see that, so that people are really being like, okay, which streamers are actually using this, and it pretty much shows you the map and where to go. So it shows you where the pylons are, it shows you where the types of monsters are, and everything like that. And obviously this is against the rules, it's against the terms of service for playing the game. I mean, you can't, especially when you add something competitive into the game like the greater rifts and a ranking system, yeah, that's just not cool. So a lot of people got really deterred away from playing the greater rifts. Around that time, we also had a XP exploit where you could pretty much get insane amount of Paragon levels really quickly. Blizzard ended up fixing it, but I don't recall if they actually even banned any of the people that were doing it. I don't remember exactly what it was going on there, like the exact details on how they did it, but it does give you an advantage if you're, say, you got someone that's rank 20 on the leaderboard that he's done like a Rift 42 or 43, for instance, and you know, he's Paragon 300, whereas you have this other guy is Paragon 800. Well, he has a pretty statistical advantage, you know, in that way. When you really break it down, when you get to those high grader rifts, and we're going to talk about this more in a little bit, when you get to those really high grader rifts, it really comes down to a very small amount of factors that determine how well you do, because your gear can only get so good, your you know, character can only get so good. So these factors of having really high Paragon level or RNG elements, which I said we'll talk about again a little bit later, they do make a difference. So obviously an XP thing like this does make a difference. Another big issue that was going on around this time was that a lot of barbarians were getting really high tier completions, and you know, it seemed very weird because at the time Demon Hunter was the strongest class in the game. It was pretty obvious. So why is it that Barb was literally getting the highest you know, rift completions for these tiers? And it was mainly this conduit thing where people would search out a conduit for the entire rift. The Barb would drag a lot of monsters to the conduit, you know, maybe even having the Rift Guardians, you know, killing everything. The Rift Guardian spawns, kill the Rift Guardian, like conduit just wipes out everything, right? So they had a huge thing. And the biggest downside for a Barb, a Raycore Barb, is the boss fight. It's a single target boss fight. Everything else is pretty easy. I just started playing my Barb recently, just for the sake of it, and I have some Raycores. I don't have, like, you know, optimized gear yet, but you know, I'm playing mine, and I haven't even come, like, when it's down to trash mod, but I haven't even on the higher tiers, I haven't even been close to behind. But the Rift Guardian is where it takes a long time to kill things. So when you have that conduit pylon doing that, it was really making a big difference. So all these factors coming together really kind of, I think, pushed a lot of people from playing the game mid-season here for Season 1, and a lot of other people were getting really frustrated, saying, you know what, we've had so many problems with Season 1, just end the season soon so we can move on to other things and actually, you know, and put the season behind us. But the season, as you guys know, lasted for like 6 months or something, and that's quite a long time. So yeah, I think a lot of people really got deterred away from, because all these things are happening, and you want it to be fair. When it's a competition, it literally has to come down to a player versus a player, and not, you know, this stupid element and this stupid element and this and that and the problems with the game. And you know, when you're adding so many other variables in there, it takes away the actual competition that is supposed to be there, right? So like I said, a lot of people got deterred from this stuff. So for me, I took a little bit of time from doing greater rifts. I felt like, you know, there's so many problems right now. What's the point? What's the point of, like, spamming these greater rifts every day to try and get hit really high rank? I think at the time I switched to Wizard and I was like top 100, but I was like, there's no way I'm going to make like top 10 or top 20 or top 50, you know, if people are doing all this stuff. And it's just, you know, and I don't want to do that stuff. You know, I want to play the game legit. And so that was, for me, kind of took some time away from it. I played a lot of other games and kind of just waiting for Season 1 to be fixed. And also another huge problem at the time was the greater rifts. They didn't really have very much density. You would, like, there was one situation where I walked for like a minute and didn't even see a single monster. I was like, where the hell is everybody? Like, it was ridiculous. And yeah, so they ended up fixing that, and we're going to talk about that now. So patch 2.1.2 finally comes out. We have increased density in the greater rifts and the rifts, which is great. Definitely needed it. Fixed a lot of problems with that. And there are some tuning for the monsters that need to be done, and I've talked about on streams and videos before. There is some tuning on progression that certain monsters give and certain monsters don't give, you know, that needs to be tuned for sure. They need to literally sit down, look at every single monster in the game and say, okay, do we feel like this monster is in a good place right now? Do we feel like it gives enough progression for the difficulty of it, for the health of it, and all these kind of things? Or do we feel like, you know, but that's time consuming. I don't really think they're going to put the time in to do that. I mean, I would if this was my game, but just saying. Anyway, so that's pretty much what needs to be done there. But a lot of things were fixed. You know, Conduit got nerfed, which is unfortunate. I've always been a person that loves Conduit. Conduit is one of the coolest things about the game. Makes you feel like this lightning god that just obliterates everything. And actually, you know, whether you have crappy gear or you have good gear, it's that moment in the game where you just feel untouchable, you feel invincible, and that's cool. I like that. But I've always said that Conduit needed to be taken out of the Greater Rifts. All the pylons had to be taken out of the Greater Rifts and put only into regular Rifts. Give people more of a reason to do some Rifts and make it more fun for them when they're farming for items and everything. And then when it comes down to the competitive side, let's take away some of those variables that may make somebody win or make somebody lose. And that's a little bit more fair, I believe. And what they decided to do, Blizzard with 2.1.2, is nerf Conduit pretty much to the ground, to the point where it's pretty much useless. All the other pylons are pretty much better. So we kind of knew that was going to happen, but there are other kind of fix for pylons in general, and this is something I've been seeing in the Greater Rifts, is that the pylons are it's kind of like you get one of each, I guess, and I think Blizzard kind of set that up, that like an entire rift, most of the time you'll get like one of each. There's some rifts where you get like no pylons, and that happens, but sometimes I feel like I think they've been trying to work on making it more, the pylons spawn definitely more often, which is true, so that if you spam those high tier Greater Rifts and you're depending on getting a power pylon for the Rift Guardian or whatever the case may be, because you need that because your character's not very good at single target or whatever the case is, I feel like they have been kind of pushing the need to make it so that it's not like, okay, that one guy in the top 100 got the right situation, so he's rank 1 now, instead of like, okay, many people got the right situation. It really just more comes down to the way your gear is. So I kind of agree with the direction that they went there, but I still kind of feel like at the end of the day, the pylons should be just literally taken out of Greater Rifts. I mean, they are fun, don't get me wrong, but if they were to take the pylons out of the Greater Rifts, then that means they would also have to tune the monsters and not let them, I guess, exponentially grow too much. Like when you get to those really high Greater Rifts, like for instance a tier 51, the Rift Guardian has 200 billion health. That's a lot of health. So you're gonna need like a power pylon. Your gear can only go so far. Yeah, but there's not very many people that have been able to achieve like a tier 51 and stuff, but it's just an example. Now we're going to end here with 3 points. The first one's going to be talking about RNG. The last one's going to be talking about, the second one's going to be talking about the end of the season wizard situation, which I thought was pretty interesting. And then the very end, I'm going to talk about one of my hopes and thoughts for season 2, what I would like to see at a season 2 and everything like that. So first off, when you get to those really high Greater Rifts, and people have heard me talking about it, and heard a lot of other streamers talking about the end game, which is pretty much when you get to that point where your gear pretty much can't get any better. Like it could slightly here or there get a little bit better, but when you get to like those really high tiers, like for instance a wizard, for me the highest tier that I did was like 44, and I did it actually really fast, which that's what put me to rank 26. I did actually do a 45 after that, but I was so close, like I just missed it. I didn't even get like any pylons through the entire thing, so if I got like literally like one pylon, I probably would have been higher up, like top 15 or something. But yeah, but still, I mean, those kind of things can happen. It's that RNG element of, it comes down to that really kind of getting lucky, getting the right kind of monsters that you want, getting the right kind of density that you want. There are some rifts where you'll do a level and the monsters are so difficult to kill. You can't kite any of them. They run really fast. They barely give any progression. You feel like, okay, I had to skip these monsters because they're a waste of my time. You try to skip them and they chase after you and kill you or something. It's just like, if you have to stay and kill it, it should be worth it. And that's kind of the downside of the rifts right now, is that, you have to make those judgment calls. And I mean, making judgment calls is a good thing, but the downside of that is that it's not very balanced, these Greater Rifts right now. And that's kind of the main problem that's left with this, is that yes, RNG is a factor. Like if you get the unburied guys and you get the goat guys in a single level, or you get the red zombies in a single level, it's a fun and awesome feeling to get that, because you're like, yeah, this is great, like I'm gonna win this, but it's too easy. Like it really is too easy. So maybe kind of try and balance that with making, like, you either have like rifts that they're there's no way I'm completing this, or this is super easy. There's no real middle ground and just being like, okay, my gear's good enough, I know what I'm doing, that means I should be able to do this. Like, so the tuning of the greater rifts, I think, is the biggest problem with the game right now, but not that big of a problem. Like, it's pretty fun what's going on right now. Like, I'm enjoying it. If they just tackle that stuff, I feel like, you know, and try to just fix a little bit of tuning here and there, some of the monsters and stuff like I talked about earlier, man, like this is really going to take off. Like this is really going to be awesome. I did some research and I looked into some stuff, and apparently there is a stuff going on called snapshotting. And what that is players would use the pain enhancer gem or the toxin gem, and they would, when they found a power pylon, they would click the power pylon, they would hit their health potion, and then it would snapshot the power pylon into those dot gems. So the dots would do way more than they did before, and they would actually combine their damage into the Firebird's, you know, infinite dot damage. So as long as you didn't heal yourself again, die, or leave the level, which a lot of the times you can complete an entire rift in just one level, then you do really well. The very next day, Blizzard caught wind of this, and this was like the final day of season 1, and you know, there's already a few people that did that. There were a lot of people that we don't know how many, we can't know, but there were quite a bit of people that did that and got to these really high ranks. And then Blizzard nerfs it, so now that the poison gem has like a separate damage thing, it doesn't like build into your fire or something. It is something there, but they did fix the situation with the gems and pretty much just let those people keep those ranks. And you know, now, you know, the only way to get to those ranks is to actually snapshot, and now nobody else has a chance to catch up to them. So that was kind of like, I guess, kind of like the bittersweet ending for season 1, that it started with all these situations, in the middle we had all these situations, and it ended with a freaking drama and conspiracy crap like that went down. And it's unfortunate, but you know, at the end of the day, the situation was fixed, and hopefully we won't see anything like that more in season 2. We can only really hope in season 2 that things are going to actually progress and get, you know, better. You know, let's, like, the beginning of the season, the middle of the season, the end of the season, everything go nice and smoothly. Blizzard has stated, by the way, that season 2 is planned to be between 2 to 3 months long. So hopefully we don't see like another 6-month massacre like we saw before and all that. So who knows what's going to happen in season 2. But as far as what class I'm going to play, I'm not really 100% sure. I'm playing different classes on stream before we're leading up to season 2, and kind of, you know, getting a feel on what I want to do. I did really well with Witch Doctor, I did really well with Wizard, so maybe I'll do something else. I don't know. I do like to play all the classes, and I know you guys are getting a little bit bored of the Wizard stuff, but I do want to thank you guys for, you know, watching the channel and watching the videos, and sitting through this video, which, even though was kind of longer, but it's, you know, it's kind of a wrap-up. There's a lot of stuff that happened in season 1, so it needed a lot of explanation, and there's a lot of people out there that, you know, they didn't really know about some of this stuff, and some of you guys did know about all this stuff. So yeah, pretty crazy season 1. I feel like the best part about season 1 is the fact that it's done now. Let's move on. Let's hope we never have another one like it. Here's to season 2. Anyways, guys, my name is Shinobi, and until next time, thanks for watching.